Hello, everyone. My name is Todd Wall, and welcome to Communication Makeover, where we believe that intentional communication will lead to the breakthrough that you're looking for, both in your business and in your life. The problem we're dealing with today is overcoming professional overwhelm. It's a problem we all deal with. Abby is doing such a great job in really letting us inside her world and talking about how she feels and Deirdre brought out that if you brought out a scalpel, what would you begin to do? And the practical things that she can begin to do just began flowing out, like the classic Brian Tracy line of "Eat the frog." Those little bumper sticker things that we can remind ourselves with that goes, "Yep, this is what I need to do moving forward because this is who I am." So let's jump right into the conversation so we can uncover some more. Here we go.
Abby, you're doing such a great job. You've broken it down. You've learned about yourself, discovered, and now we've been kind of peeling back the layers of the onion and getting tactical. Todd mentioned something that was really interesting in our crosstalk: permission. And now you're giving yourself permission to be organized. And you said where you would start first and what you would do. And it's a playbook. What about permission to prioritize yourself? How do you feel when you hear that? Permission to prioritize yourself.
I feel like working in a company, it's always hard to think about prioritizing yourself because one of our mottos is right for the business, best for the customer. And it's so on the forefront all the time that we're prioritizing what's best for the business and the customer that sometimes I feel like prioritizing myself during the workday isn't a priority because I know at 4:30 I'm going to go home and I can prioritize myself until I go to bed, or I can prioritize myself for the first 30 minutes before I go to work in the morning, or on my lunch break. And having those built in times that I know I can do that, I think make it hard to give myself permission to take that 5 minutes. And I think also as a young professional, it's my first real job out of university, and I struggle with the line between what is it okay for me to do and what is not okay for me to do. Um, I think sometimes those boundaries are just not completely clear. Something I remember my boss said during my interview with her was, "We work hard, we play hard." And when I hear something like that, I think we work hard all the time. So again, I think it's a little difficult to think about the permission sense of giving myself 5 minutes to get up and walk around and not feel like I'm a sedentary worker, or get up and go talk to one of my coworkers for 5 minutes about how their weekend was, just to connect with other people in the office and think about doing those things outside of what is my job when I'm there.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. And when it comes to clients and the business, yes, it's always to prioritize to make sure the customers are happy. However, the business is built on the people. And I bet your company would be okay with 5 minutes. I think it's you getting used to being a young professional who can take those 5 minutes. That's 5 minutes of good. And it's also what you do outside that fuels you to be focused and centered when you go back to work. So it's definitely a mindset all the way around. And maybe just to open it up a little bit, what do you think is realistic? What can you visualize? What would make you feel relaxed in your day that makes sense for everybody, for all parties involved?
I definitely think you said something about a walk earlier. I think during the winter it's a little harder, but now it's starting to warm up, and I find I feel much happier when the sun is setting later, and maybe getting out on my lunch break for a walk would be good. And then maybe, like I mentioned earlier about feeling like I can connect with my coworkers, I really like a lot of them. So maybe it would be prioritizing checking in with them and building those relationships up. I feel like that's something that my company would want us to prioritize is how can we foster an environment where people want to work together, where people like working together, and we enjoy spending time around each other as coworkers. We have something called a fun committee. We like to have fun. I think sometimes, though, when we get really locked in and things are getting really busy, it gets a little harder to think about doing those things.
Right. I think you have your own answers, and I'm hearing them. There's a little bit of an aha moment when you said, "We have fun, the fun committee. We like to do fun things." And yes, the business wants you to bond as much as possible because when you're bonded, you want to come to work, you're building relationships. What happens when those relationships start to flourish? How does the business get better? Why would the business want to see that? Talk a little bit more about that.
I think having a better relationship with your coworkers helps foster better communication. Like we've talked about, I feel like my communication suffers when I get overwhelmed. But if I am fostering those relationships and know I can go to my coworker on the digital team and say, "Hey, I'm having this issue with this client. Can you take 5 minutes to talk about it with me?" And then we spend 5 extra minutes talking about what's going on this weekend for each of us. I feel like it makes it easier for me to go and talk to them next time and feel like I actually have more than a working relationship with them. I find that sometimes whenever I ask people for things, I feel a little bit bad about it, even though it's their job and it's my job. Uh, but going over and trying to foster more than that working relationship, I think helps in those conversations about what we are doing for work.
Yes, so now you're solving problems together and you're also building bonds. When somebody helps you, and you appreciate it, it gives them the feeling, oh, well, now I can go to Abby and maybe she knows something that will help me. And it works both ways as you're building a relationship. Abby, you have a playbook, and I don't know if you realize this, but it's a pretty powerful one. Can you step back and just now put the sections of your playbook together of how you're going to combat and use your energy, shift your energy, and make some moves so that you can overcome your overwhelm? What's in your playbook?
Step one, got to be organized. Definitely need to take a look at what I am doing as my own processes to figure out how I can combat the overwhelm during my day in terms of fielding client emails, calls, or action items after calls that we're on. So definitely think I need to start there. And then I think definitely prioritizing taking a couple of minutes just to breathe, stand up. We have standing desks. I should stand up more. Um, so I definitely think standing and maybe stretching a little bit or just taking a lap around the office and saying hi to a couple of the people on the digital team or the social team and trying to continue to foster those relationships to make this easier and to understand that other people are feeling overwhelmed too. Sometimes you walk past people and they look like they're about to rip their hair out. So maybe it would make me feel less alone in my work environment, right? And
Yes.
then also I think coming home and leaving work at work would be really helpful. Not thinking about it so much when I leave for the day about what I didn't get done, Because at the end of the day, if I'm prioritizing the organization and how I'm working with the other people on our teams and how I'm working for the company and still prioritizing myself, then I'm doing what's right for the business and best for the customer.
That's right. Abby, will your playbook get you to a 4?
I think it just might.
Excellent. Let's hear what Todd has to say.
Abby, let me ask a question. It felt like at the beginning you felt permission to be the robotic, fantastic worker, but I saw the dots connect there at the end. Now, do you feel permission? It's okay to be human and connect with people too.
I do. I definitely do. I think sometimes you get in this, it's like a train, you're just moving along, and then you make a stop and you're like, well, I could get off here if I wanted.
Yeah,
Or like, it's going to be okay if I get off the train for this.
yeah.
It's
It,
not,
it,
nothing's going to burn down.
yeah, it felt like it was powerful. You just asking that question: Is it okay if I do this? Oh, wait, that's our company value. I was like, I saw the lights come on. Did the lights really come on at that moment?
They did,
Yeah.
definitely.
Good.
Yeah, I loved how you said this is actually a company value. I don't know why I haven't done this.
Sometimes I think we just don't realize when we get into a groove, and
Yeah,
I pride myself on being a good worker and
absolutely.
on those extra responsibilities, and sometimes I think it gets lost that I am just another human being. I have a life outside of work. I have a life at work.
Hmm.
So where can we bring all of those things together?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Abby, thank you so much for being on the show. Your vulnerability, transparency, this is going to help everyone because everyone deals with exactly what you're dealing with. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for
Abby.
I appreciate it, y'all.
All right, everybody, stay brave, stay intentional. Your breakthrough is right around the corner. The pain is temporary, but just keep moving forward. We'll see you next week.